Well, hello, everyone. Welcome here to the all-new B2B Hour on auto conversion. This is kind of a new monthly webcast series that we've been facilitating here on auto conversion for B2B marketing and sales professionals, and that would be business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs. You're in the right place, so welcome here. Today is Wednesday, July 28th, and I am Ryan Girardi. Thank you for joining us. Our general theme for the show is how to stay connected and engage with customers and strategic partners and employees, all part of the fabric of your business. We offer a unique product here on Auto Conversion to help you do this. And we invite you here to learn and to network and to grow your personal and your professional brand. Grow your network, grow your online reputation. So today on the program, our specific focus is about distinguishing the differences between business coaching, consulting, and mentoring. And I just realized that I need to share my screen so that you can see what I want to show you. And let's put this up here. Bada boom, bada bing. There you go. So head on over to autoconversion.net and get yourself subscribed. There's a subscribe button there, and that will make you what we call an AC insider. You're an insider because you have the inside scoop on awesome stuff that we do and amazing people that we bring into our community. In fact, we have three amazing people lined up today. As you see in the photo there, we have Hanna Hernandez from Mindset Management. We have Ron Sandell, who's a sales coach a newer sales coach that I recently been working with. And then we also have Dr. Lance Knaub, who is going to be here as well. Lance is going to handle our health, and he's going to take on our health and wellness segment that we do. It's a short segment we do after my interview with Ron. So we'll be talking with Ron about his sales coaching experiment, if you will, his beta program. And then after that, we'll have Lance on for a quick health and wellness tips for you. And then all four of us, including Hannah, will be on. We're going to kind of continue the conversation about business coaching and consulting and mentoring, but we're also going to have a bonus segment about social media ROI. So if you were subscribed to Auto Conversion, you would see all this would be delivered to you via email, and you can specify whether you want weekly, daily, or monthly emails. It's all in here. And as you know, we're streaming live here on YouTube, and you should subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, and you'll get nice little reminders and notifications from YouTube every time we go live and every time we upload new videos. So as I was saying, business coaching, it kind of seems to be a booming industry, and many people are really entering the space as coaches. But everybody has different ideas about what coaching is, about what to expect, and its effectiveness. And consulting, I think, can be like that too. Some people think of consulting as maybe just providing input or advice on what you should do. While others, like me, I think consulting is a service. You're providing actual services to be performed. So a lot of, definition is a big part of that. I should say definition is important in everything, including things like coaching and consulting and mentoring, which something many of us, I think, maybe benefit from without realizing it, or receive often without realizing it. But then there's formal mentorships as well. So that's our primary focus for today. And as a bonus, like I said, we're going to also get into social media ROI. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment, and we'll have me and Ron for a quick conversation about his sales coaching beta program. Stay tuned. And look who is here. Maybe I should go to this mode. I don't know. I kind of like this, but then I got to get rid of this. Hello, Ron.
Hey, how's it going, Ryan?
Pretty good. I feel like I'm way higher than you. So I'm going to...
You're probably taller than me.
No, it's just because...
My mom always said stand up straight. So
yeah, it's better. It's just where the camera is. So I think maybe I could go like this, and maybe that'll help, or maybe we'll go this route. So we do want it to look good, and I see my head keeps poking out as well. So, hey, welcome to the B2B Hour. It is great to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I think we'll have a great time.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to today's conversation. Lance and Hanna in the wings, and we all know each other, which really, makes it fun. And folks, to give you some background, Lance runs a clubhouse room called Hot Seat every week, every Thursday. Hannah's been kind of co-hosting that with him as well. And that's how I know both Hanna and Ron. That's how a lot of us really know each other, is through Lance, will be on in a moment. But Ron, let's get right into things. So you recently launched, you call it a beta program for sales coaching. Mm-hmm. So why don't you take a moment just to tell us about, what that program means for you and why you wanted to go that direction.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, so a beta program is basically like a test, if you will, to work things out and try some new theories and concepts. In general, that's what that concept means. And in the world of coaching, particularly what I'm trying to do in my area of expertise or niche is sales and performance coaching. I wanted to get a small group of individuals on board, work with them for a short period of time, and get some feedback about how that program works, how it works for them, what I can do better, what they've experienced from it, and hopefully take that to the next level. So, that's really the goal of the beta program, and it's going well. It's actually finishing up. You're finished. You're one of my clients, so you're finished, but a couple other people still have to get through it. So
yes, and tell us real quick what the program was. I mean, I know what it is, but
sure.
The frequency. What did you offer? You don't have to get into price, but what do you offer to do?
Yeah, so basically, it's a biweekly meetings, which I believe gives the client basically 2 weeks to try to implement some new things that we've talked about and maybe get some results in 2 weeks. So it's a biweekly program for 4 sessions, total of approximately 8 weeks. There's some flexibility in there with vacations and illnesses and all that good stuff. But that's it. It's pretty simple. It's not a long-term thing. A longer-term program might be more like 12 sessions over 24 weeks. Especially in sales, it sometimes takes a little while for some of these new theories, new concepts, new strategies to take hold and for you to see results. So it takes a little bit of time. Plus, the relationship grows over that time period as well.
And I apologize. I'm taking a few notes, but I had to I have a process for note taking when I do these shows. So,
okay.
So I'm going to I'm going to ask a different question, but then we'll go back into some of the mechanics of the program. But why sales coaching? What makes you qualified, and why do you even want to offer sales coaching?
Well, that's a great question. And I've always had a passion for helping people, number one. And so my why is really to be a life coach who specializes in helping salespeople, more specifically, improve their performance at work and ultimately maybe at life. And I've also specialized over the years in helping people gain some clarity around career development, advancement, their future, and their overall career. And really what I've gotten, I think, particularly good at over the years, especially more recently with, the pandemic and what have you, is specializing in helping people find balance in their life, freeing up their mind to be able to make better decisions that make sense and have a really profound impact on how they operate in life.
I like that. And tell us why you're qualified to do this.
So I've been in corporate sales in the medical device, biopharma, pharmaceutical space for over 25 years with positions of increasing responsibility in training, mentoring, sales management, and now I'm a regional sales director for a corporation.
Just curious, how many you're a regional director, so how many you have sales reps that report to you? How many report to you?
Currently 5 in the East region from Virginia to Maine and out to Ohio, with an outlier in St. Louis.
Okay, so 5 report to you, and then just do you report to like any higher up sales managers?
Yes, I have a vice president of sales.
Okay, so you have you really only have one layer to work through. I'm always curious about the different layers because depending on the size of the company, it can be a lot.
Yeah, it's a small company, but I've worked for big ones too. Some of the bigger names in the industry. A lot of experience there, working for small startups, which this one kind of is, and then bigger ones with multiple layers and multiple products and so forth. So a lot of variation, a lot of great sales success, and I feel like I've helped a lot of people along the way, peers and such.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is it fair to say that you already provide a lot of coaching in your position?
I especially do right now as I lead a team of salespeople, but also as a former sales trainer for new hires and for retraining with new products and so forth. Always seem to be sort of highly sought after and regarded in that area, as well as mentoring peers along the way for my direct superiors as well.
Okay, so how would you define what coaching is? When you said, I want to offer a sales coaching program, and I know you just explained a little bit about what the program was and why, but how would you define coaching in your eyes?
Yeah, so like you said in the beginning, I think there's a pretty distinct difference between mentoring, consulting, and coaching. And what coaching is, and honestly, my experience in coaching goes back even further than my professional career. I've gotten help with the assistance of my wife and others. 3 kids through, 2 of them through college and 1 through high school so far, and they're still going fairly strong, right? So that's coaching too. And I've coached athletics after playing for many years, multiple sports, and a college athlete. I coached youth athletics for almost 20 years as well. So coaching is it's sort of repetitive, right? History tends to repeat itself. So it's not that complicated. Oftentimes in coaching sports, we let the coaching get in the way of the players actually doing the work and having success. So I feel like professional coaching, particularly of salespeople, because I view them much like a professional athlete who trains and trains and trains, and then all of a sudden they get to perform in front of the prospect or the client or the customer, but they have to train a lot to get to the stage where they've earned the right to perform at a high level. So I think that coaching is really about providing guidance along the way and sprinkling in some experience and knowledge to and maybe a different set of eyes and ears to see things a little bit differently and offer up an opportunity to try something new and different, to change the trajectory of their performance and their activity and look at things a little bit differently from a strategic and tactical perspective to achieve the desired result or the objective.
I like the 2-week frequency, and as a benefactor, I really liked that. I found that meeting with you one-on-one every 2 weeks was a good pace. 1 week would be too much, and meeting once a month, it's almost like too long.
Sure.
And maybe that's because we were kind of new in it. So you brought on 5 people, including myself, for the same period of time and the same frequency of every 2 weeks. What were you expecting going into it? And that's kind of a loaded question, but so you take it where you want. But what was your expectations going into this?
Well, my expectations of me were pretty simple. Just do what I've always done, but do it in a different way where it's more of a business rather than part of my job or my role. So what I learned and what I kind of expected was that most clients, most people have trouble changing. It's a challenge. They oftentimes feel like what they are doing is working. And sometimes they have to look into the mirror a little bit more and ask themselves the honest, tough questions to evaluate themselves. But basically, most people that I've worked with over the years have the same type of challenges. And those challenges all surround what I think are the 2 most important things, especially in sales, is time management and focus. Because many individuals that I've coached over the years are unfocused and they're really bad at time management. So the 2-week time frame gives them time to refocus during that time period and then look at how they're managing their time and what types of activities they've identified, or their coach has identified, right, as being the highest, quote, revenue generating activities that don't suck the time out of their day, because that's a finite resource that we have. So we have to become more efficient with our time, manage it better, and balance things a little bit differently than we have before in order to get different results and change that trajectory to be more on a positive note.
So going into it, you kind of had these expectations and this idea. What were some surprises that came out of the beta program for you?
So I guess there weren't too many surprises, but I think I was surprised at how over 2 weeks, even though I send out a weekly sort of a recap on my notes, as you know, I was surprised, and don't take this the wrong way, but that the clients didn't progress as much as I thought they could have in 2 weeks. And I think that goes back to focus and time management. I think one of the things, we worked on is taking your business model and all the offerings that you have, and maybe finding that we can funnel the time and the energy into just a few things instead of the many, and looking at what's producing revenue, or what has the potential to produce revenue, or make an impact to your sales, and filtering that out. I was working with another client today on her last session, and just looking at their marketing efforts and the demographics that they're going after, and also talking about where they're getting their referrals from, and the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule, and really look and see if 20% of their referral sources are actually bringing in 80% of the clients. And if that's true, don't focus on those other 80% so much. Really just run with the 20% that are bringing you the business, and groom them to do more, because building up your strengths is oftentimes easier than focusing hard on your weaknesses, because at the end of the day, your weaknesses, if improved slightly, don't make that much of a difference, but your strengths enhanced can make a world of difference.
That's a great takeaway. And, someone who's has a big presence here on auto conversion, Rob Holman, that's one of his founding principles, is focus on your strengths, focus on what you're good at and what you do best. And I think we all talked, I forget who I was talking with about, it might've been Lance or somebody else recently, might've been you, but outsource your weaknesses.
Yes.
If there's something that you're just not loving doing,
yep,
and you're not strong at it, try to delegate that or outsource it.
Yeah, even if you think you're strong at it, if you're not getting great results, you may not actually be strong at it. So it may be worth it to try somebody else that does the same thing that you do. And a lot of people have fear of relinquishing some of their job responsibilities to a third party or to somebody else. In other words, basically effectively delegating. But oftentimes, if you have somebody that can do it almost as good as you, and you give them a shot, you might be surprised. They may actually be much better. And the end game is really to get better, you and the company, or whatever it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Final question, then we got to switch over to our health and wellness segment with Dr. Lance Knaub. But final question here, Ron. The beta program ended. Do you intend to repeat it, expand upon it, or bail? I guess is the question.
Expand upon it, to be quite honest, because I think things went pretty well. But you know what? Once I send out the feedback forms, 10 questions, we'll see what you and the others say to the beta program, because that may determine my fate with this venture. But honestly, I think my gut tells me that I made enough of an impact, that I've done things pretty well. And then we'll see, because I can always tweak it, right? It's a work in progress. It's not a sales program, session 1, session 2. It's not that. It's more like talk therapy. It's more, tell me what your biggest challenge is, and do you want help with that? My 2 favorite questions. Okay. Because if they don't want help, they don't need me. But if they have a really big challenge and they want help, then maybe we have a partnership.
So I want you to put a pin in that thought right there, because what I want to ask you to start off our panel, because folks, we're going to bring Lance Knaub on in a minute for some health and wellness tips. And then Ron's going to come back, and it's going to be Hanna, myself, and Lance with Ron. And I'd like to start the panel, Ron, with kind of building on what you said, but I'll forget it, but you can remember this. You said, what do you need help with? What's your biggest challenge? My question to you to start off the panel is going to be, how often do people not know what their biggest challenge is?
Got it.
So we'll come back to that. All right, Ron Sandell, everybody, offering sales coaching. Thank you, Ron, for being up here with us.
Thank you, Ryan.
And we'll have you back in just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and bring Lance up here. Bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum. There he is. Hello, doctor.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm glad you made it. It's your third appearance on the B2B Hour, right?
Absolutely. Getting better every time.
But first time doing the health and wellness segment. So
yes.
I love this segment. It's great. So we have 10 minutes here, and then we'll get to our panel discussion. So the floor is yours. What do you have to share with us today?
Thank you. I am so excited to share a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, which is burnout. And I dedicated 18 months researching this topic and really putting a process together to help entrepreneurs and leaders. And I'm going to present the third section of my best-selling book, The 4% Breakthrough, today, which is a health section. And we're going to cover some highlights from mental health, nutrition, sleep, exercise, posture and ergonomics. And lastly, I've got a little bonus information I'm going to share with you. So let's get right into it. Burnout is really become a widespread problem, and the pandemic has only made it worse. The American Psychological Association actually found in their new study that 78% of people reported feeling overwhelmed during the pandemic. And as entrepreneurs, we are supporting our teams and their families, and the pressure can be even greater. I know personally, going through, periods where we had to furlough most of our team, it was obviously extremely stressful. And, with this topic myself, I definitely have some personal experience, and that's part of the reason it's so important to me to share with others, because, in 2011, we had 3 offices, 30 employees. We just had our third child, all under the age of 4. And I was abusing my body. I was not sleeping enough. I was not exercising. And my body stopped cooperating, and my digestive system just stopped working temporarily. So fortunately, I was able to pick myself up and get back on my feet. And I'm going to share all the things that I was able to do to personally get myself better, and that I'm seeing other entrepreneurs, and also with just the research that I did with the book process. So number one, mental health. And this is totally in the news right now, totally relevant with Simone Biles, one of the world's most elite athletes, stepping out of the gymnastics because of her mental health and saying she wants to take care of herself. Our mind is like the central processing unit in a computer. It controls everything. And fortunately, it actually reboots every day. So we need to actually find processes to improve our mindset at when we start our day. And some specific strategies that you can consider would be meditation, yoga, journaling, purposeful silence, guided breathing, mental imagery. Okay, so decide which of these resonates with you, and think about trying to take very small steps, even 1 to 2 minutes, to work towards making that a habit. Okay. Secondly, let's talk about nutrition. Nutrition is probably one of the most controversial areas in health, and it's a $25 billion industry. So there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of people who really want to learn best practice and learn the best information. I think part of the challenge with nutrition is that there's probably best nutrition advice is going to end up being customized. People have different personal values. different backgrounds. So for all those reasons, what I would recommend is not focusing on one particular nutrition plan because there's so many out there, but on some basic principles such as getting adequate hydration, healthy protein, healthy amount of protein, adequate and healthy fats, getting most of our carbs through fruits and vegetables, and eating as much whole, unprocessed foods as possible. Okay. So let's talk about sleep. Sleep is a big
Lance,
problem.
real quick, I'm taking notes, by the way. Your video has frozen for a second time. So do me a favor, hit stop video for yourself. I want to see if it can reset the stream, because we hear you fine, just so you know. Do you see your video moving, or is it frozen for you too?
No, it's moving, and it looks like my Ethernet is now connected. How do I look now?
All right, let me remove you and bring you back. 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Because I wanna keep having you there. So hold on. You're still frozen. Hanna and Ron, can you private chat and just let me know if his video is moving for you or not? And Ron, so if it's not moving for Hanna either. All right, Lance, I hate doing this. I'm going to recommend, because I still want to get to your last one. It was sleep. Can you exit and re-enter the studio and see if that helps it? Actually, wave your hand. You might not be frozen. Okay, you're back.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me bring this back up here. Sorry about that. We want you. Okay. You're good now. All right. So I've got silence, quiet, meditation. I've got nutrition, and now sleep, right?
Okay. So sleep can either be a superpower or it can actually be kryptonite. And there's some very compelling research that shows that with motor learning tasks, if someone actually performs the task, like playing piano, and then they get a good night's sleep, they're actually 30% better than they were on their last best performance. Okay. I'm just seeing my Ethernet here fluctuate. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah, it froze again. Let me remove you. See if this helps. Very weird. Wave your hand. Yeah, you're frozen again. Well, it's okay. Keep talking and finish that, and then hopefully it'll reset for you.
Okay. How are we doing now?
Yeah, now it's all black. I would try exiting the studio and coming back. Let's see if that helps. So obviously, folks have a little technical challenge here. Hey, it's one of the caveats of live streaming is things like this can happen. So let's give Lance a moment to get back. He's on his third talking point. We have Lance was talking about ways to prevent proactively from burnout, which is something we all experience. I know I have experienced it, and it's a long, ugly road dealing with burnout for sure. So, okay, Lance, you're back. You're looking as good as ever, and you were talking about sleep being superpower or kryptonite.
Absolutely. So with motor learning tasks, such as playing an activity, playing an instrument, if you actually follow practice by a good night's sleep, you can be as much as 30% better than your best last performance. And the reverse is actually true. If you lose sleep, your performance can decline 20 to 30% even after the loss of a single night's sleep. So 7 hours is the minimum recommended amount. Less than that is actually considered sleep deprivation when you sleep less than 7 hours. And for men who sleep 4 to 5 hours on average a night, you're actually a decade older than your peers. Okay, you're literally your testosterone levels are a decade older, and the same goes for female reproductive hormones as well. It literally prematurely ages you. So sleep is vital, and frankly, it seems like the easiest place to recapture time for stretched entrepreneurs. So protect it. Carve out your priorities and what I call your success schedule in an earlier part of the book, and make sleep a non-negotiable. So moving on to exercise. Exercise is literally undeniable now in the high, often easy for people to say, or, they can't find time and just lots of excuses. But the research is very clear on the benefits of exercise from a cardiovascular standpoint and all the systems in the body, which you can see in detail in the American College of Sports Medicine most recent update, or in my book, I've got the highlights laid out for you. Two things I want to highlight from the exercise area. So functional training is important, and what I would actually recommend. And what that means is doing whole body exercises where they'll carry over to daily life. So for example, rather than sitting on a piece of equipment and just using your quadricep muscles and straightening your legs and using just those muscles in isolation, if you push a sled, right, where you're using your lower body, your upper body, and your core, you're burning more calories, you're getting more balance, you're getting bone density benefits, you're getting your heart rate up higher. All those things are more productive, right? You don't want to be all show and no go. And lastly, a balanced body is another area to highlight within exercise. And if you do what we call an overhead squat, you put your arms over your head and you squat, you should be able to get very low to the floor. And if you can't, that's a simple screen to let you know that either strength, flexibility, or joint mobility is impaired in some way. The next area I'm going to cover is posture. And this is something that physical therapists spend, a large majority of our time helping people with. And during the pandemic, this was an area, spine problems, and you guys have all seen, if you haven't, pay attention, you'll see it everywhere, tech neck, and just people really slouched over their laptops or their cell phones and becoming like a C. So normal posture from the side, you want to have a plumb line from your ear, your shoulder, and the bone on your outside of your hip called your trochanter, so that you have some normal curves in your spine. If you become a C, that will definitely contribute to problems over time. And so ergonomics as well, standing desk, I think Hannah's going to demonstrate today, is advantageous, and you literally can burn the equivalent of standing versus sitting the entire time. And then the bonus section that I want to cover today, which is not in my book, there's really some solid data on laughter and humor for being healthy, both for us as entrepreneurs and for our teams we serve and our clients. There's a humor cliff at the age of 23 where, the average young person laughs 300 times a day, whereas a 40-year-old, it takes them 2 months to laugh that many times in a day. And there's solid data showing a 15% increase in productivity and satisfaction when supervisors use humor as part of their management style. So one other thing that I just want to mention to wrap up, no matter where you are currently, whichever one of these areas, mental health, nutrition, sleep, exercise, posture, humor, if you go ahead and break into one, there's a synergistic positive effect. Just as if there's synergistic negative effect if you pull an all-nighter or just really eat pizza salad for a week. But pick one thing, start small, 1 to 2 minutes, break in, and there'll be a compound effect.
I'm coming back on screen. Right when you stopped talking, your video started working again. That's so weird. Because it froze a little bit. That's a lot. So I wrote silence, quietness, meditation's important. Your nutrition. All of these are our whole talking point themselves to get into: sleep, exercise, and posture. So folks, that's something we're gonna have to kind of go back and dissect, because there's a lot of good info in there. And I love, Lance, the subject focus, which is, how to avoid burnout, because it's real. And how long ago did you experience burnout that you described?
Yeah, so that was 10 years ago. And, in 2019, it became an official medical diagnosis, has its own ICD code.
All right. 10 years ago. I have a question for you. We're going to start off the panel. So Lance, thank you for putting those tips together for us and sharing that with us. What I'm going to do is bring on, let's see here. Shing, shing, shing. So we're going to bring on Ron and Hanna, and we're going to all be here. Just a second, guys. All right, we're all here. And Hanna, you're on mute, just so you know. But I think you know that. All right. Lance, you look a little frozen again, but hopefully it works out. It's too bad that keeps happening. You guys take good care of yourselves, Hanna? Do you apply all these in your in your daily routine?
That's right. I do my best to, but we're all human and imperfect, so it doesn't happen every day, but I sure do try my best to.
Yeah, I would like to say that I meditate every day or take care of myself every day, but it's hard every day. I mean, what do you do every day? Hopefully you sleep every day. Sleep is huge. I started monitoring my sleep a couple years ago, and I was getting on average less than 6 hours of sleep. So I had to change that. And I think I did. So Lance, let's see if we can get you back on here. You're all black screen. So Hanna, before we get started, you just saw my interview with Ron and Lance's tips. So I'm going to give you the microphone and just give us your takeaways. Give us your impression of what you've just witnessed.
Sure. And what a privilege to be here, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me on the B2B Hour. I'd like to start with both yourself and Ron shared really great explanations about the differences between coaching, consulting, and mentoring. But one of the things that I would like to highlight is the similarity between all three of those things. If you found a good coach, consultant, or mentor, they really should have, like Ron mentioned, personal experience, knowledge, and I believe most importantly, to have the passion and desire to help other people.
There are a lot of similarities, absolutely. And I'll say this: if you're gonna, if you bring on a client, whether you're providing them a service through consulting, I define consulting as I need a problem fixed, so I'm going to pay someone to do that, right? Or I need work performed, I'm going to pay someone to do that work. Whereas coaching, as Ron, explained, I would define coaching as I'm going to spend time with you, working on things that we need to work on, working on your strengths. Ideally, I'm going to spend that time with you, not performing a service obsolete of your client in that sense. That's how I would put that. But yeah, if you bring on a client, you do have to provide some level of coaching and training. Even though you might be providing them a service. Mentoring, though, Hanna, do you have a formal mentor that you work with for anything?
Yes, I do. And maybe these people don't even realize that I consider them to be, but I do. I do have a list of coaches, mentors, and consultants that I have worked with in the past. My first indirect mentor is actually Dean Graziosi. And going back to implementing really daily healthy habits, he was actually who inspired me to create a strategic, successful routine. And I would give myself 7 listed items of things I had to do in that day, routine items, that if I did not do that, those 7 things, I would not feel accomplished at the end of the day, which thinking now, 7 is a lot.
It is a lot.
You can work with the amount that you have in the time that you got.
So Ron, I gave you a question I wanted to restart with. So do you remember the question?
I do.
Okay. And why don't you repeat it? Because I thought I wrote it down and I know the question, but why don't you repeat the question here?
It's what is your biggest challenge?
Right. And my question to you was, how often do you find people don't know what their biggest challenge is, or
Oh,
they
that,
think it's
yeah.
one thing and you come to find out it's something else?
Usually I think if they're actively seeking out a coach, or someone's recommended someone like me to them or something like that, they have what they think is the biggest challenge. But another follow-on question to that is what else, or what other challenges do you have? Because they tend to repeat themselves just like history does. And so people get stuck in these, these patterns, if you will, of doing things that aren't really working well. So those challenges tend to be similar among many, many different people, which is, it makes it easier to coach them, not necessarily to get results, because I can't do the work for them. But yeah, I think, that's my answer for that question.
Well, that was my big thing, and I shared that with you, and I'm gonna bring you into the conversation, Lance. But I shared with you. I said, you can't change me, only I can change myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I find for me, I'm pretty aware of maybe my strengths and weaknesses. I think I am,
Mm-hmm.
but fixing them improving them is a lot of work. So, Lance, here's my question to you. I feel like I just had my question and then it eluded me. My question to you is, because you provide coaching, obviously Lance and I do a lot of coaching back and forth with each other. But when someone, let me preface it this way. Sometimes you're doing something routinely and you're not getting a result, but could it be that you just need to do it a little bit more? At what point do you say, or do you tell your subjects to say, what you're doing is not working, stop doing it right now? Or you got it, maybe you need to just do it a little bit more, a little bit longer, a little bit differently. What do you look for to figure that out?
That's a great question. I think that everyone in this group knows that I'm a big believer in measuring and kind of, scientific method analogy. And even the people that, I happen to be speaking to some really talented entrepreneurs this morning, and one is really blowing out their projections and their forecast. And they've got some really lofty goals for 2022, as we're starting to talk about that and plan for that. And the other one had, I just started working with them recently, and they're very far off from their 2021 forecast, literally $60,000 top line. And, a bottom line is significant as well. So I think you have to get objective information and keep trying to drill down on where the problems are. And often we do have to persevere. I think often people kind of quit too early if they have good strategies in place and they are, doing the right tactics. They're fighting the battles on the ground. Oftentimes, execution, there's room for improvement right? I mean, I've certainly gotten better, and I know Ron, Hanna, and you, right? All entrepreneurs, we start off, where we are and we get better. So, I don't know that there's one answer to that. I think it depends, but you have to kind of measure and really be careful not to change too many variables at once, if possible, so that you can continue to make adjustments, pivots, tweaks on the right things, the needle movers.
I like what you just said, because I apply that very intentionally, is not to change too many variables. I find that I make a lot of changes to my routines and my trajectory, if you will. I might try something for a few weeks or even a few months, but I tend to not want to change too much at the same time. That's a good tip. What I'm going to do, folks, is we got 15 minutes left, and I did want to switch to social media and ROI. This is the B2B Hour. We do this once a month, and this is what you see. I just spoke with Ron Sandell here about his sales coaching beta program, and then Lance gave us some awesome just health and wellness tips, if you will, for trying to proactively avoid burnout. I wanted to ask you, Lance.
Yes.
burnout is so debilitating. I've only experienced it, I think, once in my life, and it was very recently. It was over the last couple of years, and it was like digging myself out of a hole. It was horrible. Now I'm always like, I'm sensing it. It's always like the burnout demon is always after to get you. You know, I had a friend call me yesterday, colleague call me, and he's like, "How you doing?" And I just happened, and my head was spinning, and I'm just like, man, I'm feeling that burnout threaten me. So how, for you personally, is that something you have to battle on a daily, if not, weekly basis?
Absolutely. And even recently, our colleague Gail Gunn said words that really resonated to me, just to make sure that you follow your process, right? We probably, in this group and most of the entrepreneurs listening, have, an established morning routine. It's so easy to skip steps and to maybe jump to your texts or your email or whatever you think is pressing, rather than starting your day with, some exercise or some journaling and going through your process. So I definitely have to coach myself every day and stick with that. But I've been doing better, and it's helping.
Yes. So apply these things that Lance gave us to your daily routine. Don't kill yourself if you miss, or don't handle it all perfectly, but definitely burnout's real. And that's why I wanted this segment. So I'm glad you did that, because one of the things I've found because of that experience for myself is I wanted to apply in my business, within auto conversion, within my content, within what we do. I wanted to provide, I guess, some level of health and wellness, if you will, to be part of the fabric, because it has to be part of your fabric. So we're kind of walking the talk here.
And compliment to you, Ryan. You do a great job of setting some boundaries, making, for example, your Fridays, right? You really wanted to have that time. I mean, you're working plenty of hours during the week, but you wanted some more personal time on Fridays, and you reverse engineered that and made it happen. Nice job.
Yeah. And actually, I was going to share this with you, but I'll just put it out here. I've kind of come up with what I'd say a newer system for myself. Maybe other people do this, where I created time blocks in my day for everything, production, sales. Obviously, I have to leave some open for appointments. If you try to book on my calendar, there's very little window of opportunity. But anyone can message me and say, "Hey, I can only do this date, but it's not available," and I can move stuff around. So what I do is, when I take those blocks and I move them around, sometimes the day before, because I'm like, okay, I got to fit this in, but I'm always trying to keep the blocks in my routine, is what I'm trying to do. So I set them by default to be like the same day, same time every day, but then I move them around to adjust. And I can see that that's starting to create a good level of efficiency. It's been good. All right, guys, what I'm going to do is go back to here. If you go to autoconversion.net and you look under community, there's a community section here, and you will see our influencers group and our Slack member network. Real quick on the influencers group, this is an unlisted group, and we call it the influencers because what you're witnessing here with Hanna and Ron and Lance is they're influencing today's program by being here. And we collaborated on what we wanted to focus on, because this is they're influencing the content for their own, I call media and public relations strategy. So if you're interested in being an influencer, being up here on our programs and getting to know other influencers within the community, then just knock and I'll probably ask you to sign up. But most people that knock and want to join do sign up. And basically what we do here is I put announcements out about discussion groups coming on. This is all you're pretty much going to see are speaking opportunities or PR opportunities, if you will, to be part of these discussions. And so we put these announcements out there. And here's the other reality. We are now moving. We have two shows, this one, the B2B Hour, and then our Mobility Tech and Connectivity show, which runs on a separate channel. But we're now doing these shows only once a month each, and we're doing them on the same day. But both of them present opportunities to partake in discussions. In fact, if you go to our grow section of the website, I think I have it. Don't have it. If you go here, you can see all the different programs that we have to grow your brand and your professional network and personal development as well. These are all the different programs that we have. And you guys, I'm really happy to announce we are introducing a new one. I haven't listed it yet because it's not fully built out, but we are introducing the Jolt Business Vision program. And this is inspired by Lance himself, who's with us today. And this is a plan that does two things. It helps you align your personal vision with your business vision, if you will. And this is inspired again by Lance through his Denali Consulting. And whether you are an employee at a company, you have a career, this program's for you. And if you're a business owner, or you're looking to start a business, this is what this program does. But there's a second component to it, which is your media and public relations strategy, which is why I brought this up. So I'm not going to get too much into this. This program is coming, but feel free to join our influencers group. And the other thing you're going to see on our community page is our Slack member network. Well, why do you want to be in Slack? First off, Slack is an incredibly powerful tool, and we use it for many different purposes. All of these mastermind programs that we run have their own dedicated private groups here in Slack. And on top of that, we curate a tremendous amount of information for both business and technology. And you'll have access to all that curated information. It's like a magazine, you guys. We syndicate our blogs, our podcasts, our shows. Everything gets syndicated in here. So you have access to everything that we do on demand. It's like an interactive digital magazine. And all you have to do to benefit from that is sign up and become, as I mentioned earlier, become an AC Pro licensee, if you will. It's $20 a month for a limited time. It's going to go up to $25 a month very soon. Now, in here is why I brought up Slack. I'm going to go into the B2B Marketing Pros private channel. And you can see there's a video here called What's the ROI of Your Mother? I'm going to play this. It's just a couple of minutes, and then we're going to spend the last 10 minutes talking about the social ROI.
I was in the room with a very conservative CMO, and she was really drilling me. She was like, oh,
I don't think you guys are hearing the audio, I bet, are you?
For example, if you want some best stuff.
Do you guys hear the audio on that? Hello? Could you hear the audio when I hit play? Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right, I'll put it back. Sorry.
Go look at what your engagement rate is on your Facebook page. You have a certain amount of fans, and then you have a post. Go look at the number. Is it 0.01? Is it 0.02? It doesn't matter how many fans and Twitter followers you have. It's how many of them are going to buy something and give a fuck. So she's drilling me. I'm giving her some really good metrics, at least for a 2011 world. And she's pushing. And I know why. She works at a conservative company. And the more conservative she comes across, the more likely she'll be the CEO. I get it. I'm fine. So she's pushing and pushing. And finally, I look at her and I go, she's like, but Gary, what's the ROI? And I'm like, she's like, but what's the real ROI of social media? And I'm doing my normal thing, like, can you give me the ROI of television and print? Because I love that you spend a shitload of money on Vogue and you're buying the subscription, but can you guarantee me that somebody's looking at the ad on page 139? Because you can't. And I'm giving her everything I've got, and she's still punching me directly in the throat. So I had to pull it out. She goes, what's the ROI of social media? What's the ROI of social media? So I look at her and go, what's the ROI of your mother? She said, excuse me? I said, oh. I said, I have no interest in making a mother joke, and I'm not making fun of you. But let me explain one thing to you. The ROI of my mother is everything. The reason I'm going to buy a multi-billion-dollar sports franchise is because of my mother. My mother, the way she parented me, which, oh, by the way, is perfectly, is the reason I have the ability, the confidence, and absolute wherewithal to execute the businesses that I'm building. However, my friends at Inc. 500, I cannot come to you with slides and put them on those screens and say, over here, click. In 6th grade, when I got a mullet, you know, And my mom said I was gorgeous and beautiful and I could do anything. Well, that was building self-esteem. And so what I did with that on the next slide is, you'll see here, I sold a couple more cases of wine in 1994 because of that self-esteem, which led to this. And now I can't show you. I can't show you in data the ROI of my mother. But I promise you, it's all of it. The whole kit and caboodle. Social's going to prove it, because social has way better metrics than traditional. Some asshole stood at the top of a building with a clicker and counted how many cars drove by a billboard, and that's the metrics we're using. Do you know that people do little fucking Scantron-like cards to tell Nielsen's what shows they watched? Are you fucking kidding me? However, thank you for that one clap, that meant a lot. However, we keep poking holes in social. You know why? I know the size of your company is similar to what I'm used to. You're busy. You're doing a lot of stuff and you need to grow. I get it. But please, audit yourself. Figure out what you're doing. When people always talk to me and say, but how do you scale this? I say, you take all the money you're spending on dumb shit and you put it into humans.
Okay, Lance. Of course, I thought of you when I watched that video. You are, I would say, the I don't know, the master or the king of ensuring ROI. So, what's your response to Gary's message there? And you're on mute, by the way.
Yeah, that was amazing. Quite a delivery, and it highlighted it's not easy to drill down to return on investment. And Hanna and I are working side by side, and the four of us here have worked with each other and really on some of these areas for our respective businesses. And it is not for the faint of heart. I can remember sitting at the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons meeting, which is an international conference, right, with some of the best and brightest from all over the world, 20,000 orthopedic surgeons in Las Vegas. And I sat in with, the presenter. It was a Harvard, whatever, PhD and marketing, whatever. And all the office managers for these orthopedic surgeon groups, nobody was measuring to the kind of detail that to really get an actual take it down to profit. So it's not easy. However, I've been fortunate enough, aligning with the show, of having mentors that nudged me and forced me to take it down to that level. And I was able to do it with Breakthrough Physical Therapy and Fitness, and it really helped us scale. And I'm working on it now with Denali, coaching and consulting. So I totally advocate it, but so much truth in that video.
Ron, looking at your business, putting coaching aside, but your actual, you're in pharmaceuticals or medical equipment, right? What is ROI for you in your role? How is it defined? How is it measured? What does it mean for your company?
Yeah, so our product is a diagnostic tool for patients. And so it boils down to the patient, right? Like, so the doctors, if they use our product and they're able to diagnose more and then possibly manage or treat the patient a little bit better, then the value of our product goes way up, right? So, but you have to get them to try it first, right? Because it's a newer technology. So changing that habit is, some would say the hardest thing that you can ever do. Like, I've been using Crest toothpaste, plug for Crest, for probably my entire life. And every time I try Colgate, I'm like, oh gosh, it's awful, right? So nobody wants to change. But if the value proposition's high enough to change, so for us, if there's a clinical benefit, if there's an operational benefit, and if there's a financial benefit, then we better be trying the product if we're a physician. So, so that's what we do all the time, but we track all this stuff, right? We track, everything to get the return on investment. But unless we get the patient the product, there's no return on the investment for us.
Who's buying your product? Hospitals?
Physician practices primarily, but also hospital labs,
okay.
Diagnostic labs.
Is social media part of your company's marketing strategy?
Well, if our marketing team's on the call, I better, or on this podcast, I better watch what I say. But social media for us as a medical company is a little bit tricky because we're not a direct-to-consumer product, right? So if we pump information out to the consumer, we bypass our client, our customer, our buyer, right? We have the patient now asking for the product. And sometimes when you're working with specialists like we are, we don't want the specialist to get blindsided by a patient. So it's very tricky. So our social media presence is extremely low. But when it is there, it's basically to, one, create awareness and then educate. That's it. No selling. Just create awareness for the technology and then educate those that are interested in looking at it from a business standpoint. And then the patients come later.
Great. Hanna, I'm going to put the spotlight on you here. I've got your Instagram profile up because when I asked you what you'd like me to, what could I show people, you mentioned LinkedIn, which I had, but then you mentioned Instagram. And you're using Instagram for business purposes, right?
I do as well. That's correct.
Okay. So I'm not a big Instagram user. I'm on the opposite of Gary Vee. I've been pulling and peeling away from social media. And it was because when I looked at the amount of time and energy, and I don't just mean like physical energy, I mean like mental energy of, looking through feeds, and I kind of evaluated, what my time meant to me, I started peeling back. Now I still put stuff on LinkedIn, and obviously I'm streaming to YouTube, but not for social media, just more for technology purposes. But I took Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all off my phone. And I have no regrets. I have no regrets. I don't need these tools in my life and for my business. Gary would tell me, Ryan, you're an idiot and you're going to be obsolete. And I disagree with him in that sense. But what's your response to Gary's video, and tell us about how Instagram, what it means for you from an ROI standpoint?
Sure. So many good questions bundled up in one. First, going back to the Gary Vee video, I loved one of the things that he mentioned about his mother's impact or ROI it had in his life. And I can very much relate to that. Not only from my family members, friends, and experiences, but also going back to our first topic of coaches, consultants, and other mentors. Just to give you guys a little background, my very first job was at Bed Bath & Beyond. I was a sales associate there, and fast forward 7 to 8 years, without a college degree, I became an operations manager in the medical field, overseeing about 11 clinic locations and 112 team members. So you better believe that I have had my fair share of coaches, consultants, and mentors who have helped me to see some of the accomplishments that I've seen so far. And because of my experiences, I am so passionate about helping others also become the best versions of themselves, condition their mindset, because that is so important, and also to help define their dreams and goals and feel accomplished at the end of each and every day. So I use Instagram for personal use, and now soon it will be highlighting my business mindset management. Similar to Ron, I started with a beta group of about 5 people, and I have been meeting with them and implementing different tactics and tools for them to accomplish all of the above. So thank you, Ryan, for giving me the opportunity to share that. In referring to social media for marketing purposes, I have had the privilege of working with Denali Consulting, and we have chosen to use Instagram as one of our social platforms. And we have seen in just the month's time that I have been working with him, over 70% increased in reach engagement on the Instagram platform. So that is huge results in such a short amount of time. I love social media because it keeps me challenged. Things are changing all the time. Just like Gary Vee mentioned, holding that clicker in front of a billboard sign, we're not doing that anymore. And well, some people maybe, but for the large part, we're not doing that anymore. And we're using social media and various other platforms to help us track our ROI in all of the actions that we're making. So thank you, Ryan, for the question.
Yeah. And just to be real clear, how much time would you say you put into your Instagram profile? Obviously, publishing a photo here and there, but like, do you sometimes spend an hour getting the right photos in? Is because
Sure.
that's time that you put in.
That's a great question. I personally, you may notice I don't interact on social media that often on a personal basis because I put so much energy in my business. I have not gotten to that point yet. When I do, I will be hiring somebody to do it because I do know the amount of time it does take to really have a great strategy and be able to implement that. And not only because you're doing all the work, you have to oversee who's completing the work behind the scenes too.
Yeah, and I asked that because I'll sometimes go outside. I was trying to do it every week to make a video, like a shout out video. You guys have all seen my shout out videos on LinkedIn. I usually find someplace outdoors, but I've got my iPhone on a tripod, a microphone. I'd like to get it all in one take, but I'm not good at that. I really struggle with getting things in one take. So typically what I do is I record my message and I have notes here, and then I do it 2 or 3 times, and then I go back and I take the best of those 3 and mix it all together. But at the end of the day, it could be a 2 or 3 minute video. It takes me 2 or 3 hours to make.
That's the perfectionist in you, Ryan. But one suggestion I have for you, if you ever consider it again, is whenever you're feeling really good, like you got a good hair day going on, that's when you should be batching your work because you're having fun, you're excited to do it. Otherwise, forget it because it will take you endless hours.
That is excellent tip because there are times I'm like, the last thing I want to do is get on camera and say anything because I'm just not in the mood. Don't force yourself. Do it when you're really feeling it. Really feeling it. Hey, we went a few minutes over time, but that's okay because it's a great discussion. You guys are awesome. Lance, I'm sorry we had some technical difficulties with your video, but at least we got the audio down. So we got that. And then, as you guys know, what I'll do is I'll go in and cut this up and make little bits of micro content. That's what we do, folks. So I just want to thank you guys first for being here. I'm going to go ahead and let you exit, and then I'm going to go ahead and wind down the show.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks.
Okay. So boom. Oh, good. They got that. And there we go. So, folks, thanks for being here. Let me start off. I know an hour is a long time. If you've been on the whole time, that's great. Haven't seen a whole lot of comments come through. I think one of Hannah's relatives, Raina, did stop by. So Raina, thank you for saying hello. No, good stuff here. This is what we do. And look, if you're in business for yourself, if you have, like I said, even if you have a career, right? I shouldn't say a career. Even if you work for a company, right? You still are in the business of yourself. And I think that's really important to understand is that you need a long-term vision. You need a personal vision for your career and how that lines up with, I got to bring up the page I was going to bring up here. Ding, ding, ding. You have to get everything aligned. And as you just heard us talking about, you got to put time into making information. You have to make information because that's the way the world works today. Nobody will know who you are if you're not making information or content, if you will. So I'm going to bring my screen back up here. Do me a favor, folks, head over to autoconversion.net, look around on the site, and if anything, sign up to be an AC insider. There's no cost to be an insider. All it'll basically do is give you access to some of the behind the scenes stuff that we do. It'll give you some information that you can use to enhance your career, your business, whether it's your leadership, your media strategy, you name it. I did flash text an SMS keyword down there. If you want to text the keyword auto conversion to 855-766-7585. Funny thing is, I don't know what you're going to get because I haven't done it in a while, but I will let you know if you opt in, we will share mostly video content for you. We'll let you know when we're going to go live with the show every month. And I'm going to put this out there to the universe. I don't have a podcast for this show. I do for my other show, the Mobility Tech Connectivity Show. I don't have a podcast for this show. So my call to the universe, to everyone watching or listening, is we want to introduce a new group. I think you'd say a group-minded podcast. So if you are interested in having a podcast, you can go start your own podcast or talk to me. Maybe you want to become part of the podcast that we're going to put together where we would feature the show and lots of the business to business type of stuff that we do here on Auto Conversion. And as I mentioned earlier, our new Jolt Business Vision program is coming out in August. This is a sneak peek to look at. It's a mastermind program to better the business of yourself. It's for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, you name it. We'll help you align. The goal of the program is to help align your personal vision with your career path and with your business, and also incorporate a media and public relations strategy. I'm Ryan Girardi. Thanks again for being here, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. It's hump day, and hope you have a bang out month. And we'll see you, we'll see you in a month, if not sooner. Take care, everyone, and thanks again.